Welcome to the Richard Lloyd USA YouTube channel. I'm Richard Lloyd. Today I'm making a follow-up video, I would call it, to a video where I upgraded an EA8300 Linksys router to DD-WRT. But I put a caveat in here. This video actually applies to anybody running DD-WRT that wants to mount an external drive to the USB port on their router. I'm using an EA8300 Linksys router, but this could work on an R7000, an R9000 Netgear, or TP-Link, Archer, whatever you've got that's got a USB port on it and DD-WRT. This video will apply to it. If you watched the last video on upgrading the EA8300, you notice that it had a USB port on the back, and I teased that a little bit because it's really cool to have network attached storage, well, what they call NAS. And, you know, it's got a USB 3 port on the back, which is fairly fast. This router is pretty capable on that port. So I'm going to break this video up into two parts. Number one, a very simple share. Single drive. This is going to be a 250 gig SSD drive with a USB adapter on it. And we're going to plug it in, share it out to the network, and that will be it. One drive, and you can share it out and do whatever you like it with it as a network share. That's going to be the first part of this video. Second part of this video, I'm going to show you how to use multiple drives on that USB port, and we'll get it all working correctly. But the two parts are different. One is a very simple share of a single drive. The second one's a little bit more complex, and there's different rules for the multiple drive sharing than there is for the single drive sharing. So if all you want is a single drive share, just watch the first half of this video or the first part of this video. That will do it for you. If you want to see multiple drives being installed, then keep watching and you'll see that. Now, there's the USB port on the back, USB 3, great, but we only have one. So we need to expand that port to have multiple ports, and the way we're going to do that is using a USB hub. Now, I found this one really cool one. It's an Acer USB 3 4-port hub. You see that? Not cool, but what makes it really cool, you see the square here on the picture. It's got a 5-volt in. What does that mean? It means you can make this into a powered hub. Right now it's just a passive powered by the port hub, which means that it can handle low power devices, but it can't handle something like a spinning hard drive like this. This is an old laptop hard drive. It can't handle it. It wouldn't be able to give it enough power to reliably boot up. But if you put 5 volts into the back of it using a USB charger like this and a USB-C cable into the back, that's it. It's powered up with 5 volts, and it'll power up multiple drives, no problem at all. And I have done that here. Let's see if I have the picture. There you go. There it is. My Samsung phone charger with a USB-C charging cable. It's a pretty hefty one, and that's what you need. And again, links for this stuff in the video description below. And you plug it into the hub, it powers the entire hub. You take the hub, you power it into, you plug it into the back of the router. 4 laptop hard drives powered up by that one hub and that arrangement. So pretty cool to get a powered 4-port USB 3 hub, and this is like $10, like $9 on Amazon. You know, it's just amazing. Now, it doesn't come with a USB-C cable. It doesn't come with the power brick for charging. But I'm assuming most people have one of those already at home. So it's a pretty economical solution to that problem for multiple drives. You could go all the way, and I have, just for experimentation's sakes, and buy a powered USB 3 hub with 4 ports and a charging port. Pretty cool. And this is, you know, this is about $22, $23. So this is a little more, but you can start with the value option right here, and this is every bit as fast as that one, and it's not quite, can't power as many or as big devices as that one, but you saw 4 laptop hard drives. I mean, how much more do you need? That's going to be the second part. So let's do the single 250 gig SSD drive plugged into this router and shared out to the network. So let's go back. Rules are pretty simple. Mount the drive in Windows and check its contents. Make sure you're not going to erase something that you don't want to erase. Many people have done that. It's like, oh, I'll just format it. Off we go. Ooh, all my vacation photos were on that drive. Yeah, you don't want that. So I just plugged this one into the PC, and you can see right there, 250 gig drive. We're going to format that. Well, you can see it's empty too. So, I mean, I don't have to go through all that. And when you format it, you actually are checking it for errors. So if you have any problems with that, then I'll show you how to check for errors real quick. But right-click it. Again, I'll back up a bit. Right-click it, choose Format. And the format you want to use for all these drives is NTFS. You can do exFAT and all that, but those are not as reliable on the router as NTFS. And if you don't need to plug these ever back into your computer, you're just going to plug it in and leave it on, then let me show you what you should do, what you could do. Let's go over here to the router. 192.168.1.1 is the default IP address for the router, DD-WRT router. So I'm going to log into it here. There we go. And what you should do is go over here to Services and NAS. And when you plug these in, what will happen is you have a drive manager at the bottom here that will allow you to format it in any kind of format you want. If you want an NTFS, you can do that. If you want FAT32, you can do that. But the beautiful part is that if you want ext4, which is Linux's native file format and drive format for Linux, and it's very reliable, and Linux is very happy with it, you can do it here too. And I'll show you that in a minute, but I'm giving you options. We're going to start with NTFS, which works just fine. Hit start here and format. I'm going to put USB after it. USB, there we go. And NTFS. Format the whole thing. Yep, it's going to be gone. Okay. And close it off. Again, at this point, you can put files on it here if you wish, or you can wait until it's plugged into the router and then you can add them. So we're going to dismount this or unmount this drive here by going here. Safely remove and eject media. And there it is right there, 250. So we're going to eject that. It doesn't say anything when I do it, but I'm assuming it's now disconnected. I'm going to take it off my PC. There we are. And we're going to plug this into the back of the router. Now you can do this live, no problem, because USB is a hot plug technology. There we go. I have it plugged into the back of the router. Now let's go into the router. Now we're going to go over here to USB. And so services, you're going to go to the services tab, go to USB. Core USB support, you want that one. Now printer support we're not putting on, but I will make a video, and probably the one after this one, on how to plug, how to install a printer on this and have the printer installed while you have multiple drives. Pretty cool. So here we're going to skip the printer support, USB storage support we want, and automatic drive mount. And then at this point, if you have an SES button on your router, you have a router that has one. This one does not, so I'm not enabling it. But if you do, then enable that feature because it's nice. So hit save and apply here. All right. And what's going to happen is it'll sniff out that it's got this router, this printer. It's going to sniff out that it's got this drive connected to the USB port. So what we're going to do here is just go to net. Well, there it is. Just popped up. And what matters here is this, right? It's mounted on TMP, MNT, SDA. The TMP never matters. It's the MNT, SDA1 that matters. And it says 238 gigabytes. It's actually 250, but that's another video altogether. Regardless, there it is. It's sensed by the router. You can see here that it's got an unsupported file system, that's SDA, that doesn't matter. That's always going to happen. What matters is down here, NTFS file, MNT SDA1, right? There you go. So now it's basically in. I'm going to say save and apply again. So the router sees the drive and is ready to use it. If you go over here to NAS and you scroll down to the bottom, there's your drive manager, what I was talking about. Now, if you're just going to use this on the router all the time, take the NTFS. You're never going to put it back on Windows. Just take NTFS and change this to XT4 and then hit format. Now, I'm not going to do that because I'm leaving this as a Windows swappable drive. In other words, if you leave this alone as NTFS, you can use it and then take it off the back of the router, plug it into your PC, and see all the files on it if you wish to go that way. On when you format it to ext4, Windows cannot see ext4. File formats. So unless you got Linux, you can't see what's on this drive. I do. I'm a Linux guy too. But regardless, just showing you that, we're going to leave this alone. I'm going to do a refresh, and then you can see after I refresh that it goes back to NTFS. All right, we've got the drive working. Next, we've got to turn on the Samba server, which is an SMB server. So we enable server. Go to work group, type in here, work group, all in capital letters, because that's just the way Windows likes it. And then down here on connection limit, I think by default it says 16 on mine. I'm going to change it to 256, and that's the amount of people or clients that you can have. I don't ever want that to be a limit on my being able to access the drive. So, I mean, you could leave it to 1 if you wanted to. Right? If you're the only person. Now, over here, access level, everyone, we're just leaving it that easy. And minimum protocol version and maximum protocol versions. The defaults are decently safe. If you want the safest setting, then you would take it to 3.11. And on the minimum and maximum, that's the highest you can go. And then you would turn encryption on. I'm not doing that because I don't need to complicate this video. That's, like I said, DD-WRT is for you to experiment. You can do some research on why those settings are important or not, and what would be important for you. Now, 2.1 is the lowest you want to go. Any lower than that, those protocols are completely hacked. They're completely compromised. If you go lower than 2.1, then you're basically opening up your network to anybody who wants to look at it. So don't use any lower than this. Definitely not. And so now we've got that set up. We're going to hit save and apply again. Let's go here to add a share. And as we noted before, and if you don't remember anymore, I do, but I'm just going to show you. Go back to USB tab, and then this is what we're looking for. MNT SDA1. That's what we want to mount. So back to NAS, add a share. There we go, MNT SDA1. Now subdirectory, if you have subdirectories on the drive, or if you make subdirectories on the drive afterwards, you can mount those individually as shares. Okay, but again, we're keeping this simple. If you leave this blank, you're sharing the whole drive to the network. Here we're going to give it a name, and we're going to call it 250 GB USB, all right? Because that's what it is. Now, you can go with public or not public. It's up to you. I don't really know what the difference is. I don't find the access seems to be the same either way. So I'm going to uncheck the public, and I'm just going to hit save and apply. Now, you don't get to change that read and write setting until you hit save and apply. Now you can change it to read only if you wish. And then basically what you're doing is you're sharing out a drive to the network that can be read, but it can't be changed. No one can delete anything on it. They can't add anything to it. It just basically locks it down. So if you wanted to share all your vacation photos that you never want to lose, yeah, put it on read only for sure, and then share it out to the network. And then, devices like your monitor or, your media players, whatever, or your phones can look at that information, at those pictures, but they can't delete them or add any more to it. So I'm just going to go back to read and write, hit the save and apply. Now, the last step is you got to add a user. And the user is going to be the person who has access to these files. And each person that you want to have access to these files needs to have a user account or needs to use yours, one of the two. So here we go. Here we're going to put in username. Let's call it, I'm going to be Richard. And the password, okay, come up with one here. And I like more or less a complex password. And here it is, Green Lakes 459. And again, make sure you give yourself a decent password. So there it is, username, password. You hit the unmask to see the password. I already have it. I copied it. And you got to give it, you got to say what shares is this person going to have access to. When you see multiple drives, you'll see why that's important. Right now, you'd still have to tell the router, hey, yeah, let this person access this drive. And then click on Samba, which means which server does this user have access to, and it's the Samba server. Now there's an FTP server up top, but I'm not going into that here. Just leave it unchecked unless you're using the FTP server and you want this user to have access to it. So here, save and apply. Now at this point, we should have a 250 gig share called 250 gig USB, and it should be shared from the router. So let's go set it up. We go here to your file browser or Explorer. So we go to this PC, right click it, choose Map Network Drive. Here we're going to type in / and 192.168.1.1. There you go. Go to the and / one more time. There we go. Go to the router here. I'm just going to make sure I get the right user, there we go, the right share name. So the name is 250 gigabyte USB. So I'm just copying it in here. I'm going to hit paste, and then I'm going to hit finish. You can see I've had other users. I've been experimenting with this here. So what you do here is hit more choices, use a different account, and we're going to use Richard. There we go. And over here, just copy the password, which I have not memorized. There it is, Green Lakes number 459. Now, I don't know, the copy and paste doesn't work the greatest with this, but we'll see. Okay, remember my credentials. When you do that, then it will remember and map that drive every time you reboot the drive, or the computer, I mean. So hit OK. And ta-da, we're in. So now you look at your File Explorer and you see this PC, the drive C, and 250 gig USB down here. And if you click the properties on it, you can see that I mapped it as drive Z. When you're mapping it, you can change the mapping, and I'll show you that real quick. So I'm going to dismount it or disconnect it. It's gone. Right click it, map the network drive, change the drive letter. Let's make it D, and it should still be in here. There we go. And it should remember my password. We'll see. Let's see what happens when you hit browse over here. Yep, there it is. Right? I don't think this one will work. No, it doesn't. So hit cancel on that. But this one was 192.168.1.1 is the router, so that's what we need. It works. Hit finish. And there it is as the D drive instead of the Z drive, or the Z drive as they say in Canada, or I believe in Britain as well. So here, right click this, show properties. You can see 255 gigabyte drive there. Perfect, ready to go. Let's test it for speed. I have a crystal disk mark, but that's only for local drives. So the way I test it for speed is I just take a big file like this one here, which is 3.98 gigabytes. Oops, just copy it, paste it. You can see a real decent speed, 80 megabytes per second. You go, well, it's a gigabit Ethernet connection. Yeah, but 86 megabytes per second is, well, let's go to 88. Looks like it's going to hit 90 there. We'll go 80. Yeah, 90, I saw that. So let's go 90. 90 times 8 is 720 megabits per second. So understand there are limitations. The router's got to work real hard to get this to happen. It's got to convert Ethernet data to USB data. It's got to put it on a SATA drive, and on and on. There's quite a bit going on here. That's a really good speed for a network share to install. Now let's see how fast it comes off the drive. Usually the read speed is faster than the write speed. So let's just put that here. See what happens. Yeah. There we go. Look at that. Saw 100 there for a second. Now, drive speeds are limited by both sides. So if my drive, which is the main drive on this computer, which is running right now, the operating system, it's going to be a little busy doing that as well as copying all this information. So its drive speed and its write speed is not going to be the same as this thing's write speed. So the read and write speeds are going to be different. So the read speed right now is probably higher on this drive, but my write speed on my current drive that it's going to isn't. So you're going to have limitations. You got to, take the good with the bad here. And I can dismount this drive and test it with Crystal Mark on the desktop. But regardless, here we are. We've got a network shared drive, and anybody who wants to connect to that, if they have the right credentials, off they go. They got access to it. And this now will act as a normal drive inside your PC or your computer, laptop, whatever you have. And you can create folders, do whatever you want with it, right? So that's the basic single drive shared out to your network. You can add users if you wish down here, or you can add shares by creating a folder, right? Let's see. Let's try that. Let's create a folder. So new folder. Let's call this one. There we go. Jake. So we go back here and we click add a share. Again, same path. And the subdirectory will be Jake. The name will be, there we go, or Jake's drive. Let's call it Jake's drive. See if that works. Save and apply. Now it's read write. You can change it to whatever you'd like. But you can see here that Richard does not have access to that drive, right? You could actually add a user that is Jake. Now I can't do this on this drive because I'd have to open up a second computer to test this out. But let's just keep it simple. But you can add a user, call him Jake, and give him access to the Jake drive if you wish, right? But I'm not going to do that. Here I'm just going to say Jake's drive. There we go. So you can see what it would look like on Jake's computer. Save and apply. And if you know anything about file sharing and permissions and stuff, it gets pretty crazy, pretty fast. And I'll show you that when we start putting 3 drives into this router. So here, again, just map it. Map network drive. But we're not going to use that. This time it's going to be Jake's. So actually, we should be able to browse that because it's the same credentials. So here we go. There's Jake's drive. Right? Open it. Finish. Now, even though it is the same drive, you notice how it treats it as a separate drive. It's a Z drive now. That's Jake's drive. And if whatever you dump into here, it stays in this folder, in Jake's folder. But you can see it in this drive, no problem at all. There's Jake's folder, but he can't see all the rest. All he would get to see is that, right? And put let's just put a file into it because I have access to it. But again, this is very simple. We're just keeping it, basic here. Let's go with this one here. Drop it into Jake's drive. There we go. Off it goes. And once that happens, there it is. So that video is there. And if I click it, should be able to play it.
So basically at this
there
point,
it is.
right?
Me talking about a drive axle. And over here on this PC, if you look at the original drive, the 250 gig, not Jake's drive, you'll see Jake's folder and that file in it. And because we have access to it, we have permission to watch it.
So basically at this point,
There it
right?
is. Right? So perfect. There is a simple file share, single drive on the network using DD-WRT. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to remove all of these. Minus, minus, minus. We'll leave this up because we're going to do more Samba sharing or SMB sharing. So save and apply. The single drive is still plugged in. So what I'm going to do here is reboot the router and then disconnect the drive as it reboots, as it gets down to off. All right. I know when that is. So just to be safe, pick it up after that. All right. I've got that drive unmounted. Just wanted to show you, I'm going to plug it back into Windows for a second, and we'll carry on after I show you what happened. Now notice that now there is a Jake folder and there's a beach movie on that 250 gig drive, MOV. There we go. Plugged into my USB port on my computer, and you can see that it's right down here locally installed with the Jake folder in it. So I'm just going to quickly format that and get it back to blank. There we go, start. And I'm going to assume that that you do this with all your drives prior to installing them on the router, because that's the coolest and easiest way to handle this. But you don't have to go that way. Again, it's all about experimentation. All right, we're done with the format. I'm going to unmount that drive or dismount or whatever. Oops, wrong one over here. There we go. Eject it. That's that. Unplug it. What I'm going to do next is take my USB hub, my 4-port USB hub, power it up with my power plug and USB-C cable, like so. And so then we have USB going into the back of the router, 4 USB 3 hubs that are powered by my phone charger and a USB-C cable. Excellent. Reason for that is because I'm going to plug in a laptop hard drive, which requires more amperage and power than a regular SSD. These are low power devices. This is a much hungrier power device. And I'm going to plug my SSD into it as well. And I'm going to plug in my 4 terabyte USB external hard drive that's self-powered. So this doesn't need power from the USB hub. It just gets its own from a power pack that's on a power bar. I'm going to plug all this together into this hub right now. Then plug it into the back of the router. So we have 3 drives going into the router at the same time. I can hear the laptop drive already powering up. That's good. Then we're going to take the hub and plug it straight into the router. So now we have 3 drives on a hub going into the router and a mess of wires on my desk. All right, so let's go back to the router. Now you can see that on the USB tab on services, I already have 2 of the drives showing up. We'll let that happen here for a second. And you can see that the 250 gig SATA drive, or SSD drive, is the fastest. So the way this works, you can't tell, well, I don't know how anyway, maybe there is a way, but the router basically picks the first drive that shows up and gives it the first drive letter. It then goes to the second one, then it goes to the third one. It's a little messed up on how it does it. So here you can see all these 3 drives. I'm going to save and apply here, and then I'm going to reboot the router, because it'll rearrange the order to a reboot order. So you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So I'm going to reboot it, and then I'll show you what I mean. I've rebooted it actually 2 times, actually 3 times, including this one. And what I have, reason I did that was to make sure that the drives would not jump around. So here's the first boot. You can see the, hopefully you can see it. Here we go. The first drive, well, not the first drive. The first drive is the 238 gig or 250 gig SSD. The second is the 300 or 400 gig spinning drive, laptop drive. And the last one to come up is the 5 terabyte full-size hard drive that's externally powered. This one seems to take forever to boot. And then here's the second shot. Everything stays the same. Now, why is that important? Well, here's why it's important. Because when you go over here to NAS, and you set up your drives under Add Share, we're going to do that. So we're going to start with the first one, which is we'll call it SDA1, which we know to be the 200 and let's go back here. So SDA1 is the 250 SSD. So let's do that. And we're going to call it exactly what it is, 250 GB and SSD. There we go. And going to hit save. And then I'm going to add another share here, and we're going to call it SDB1. So ABC, it is in order, though it doesn't look like the computer knows that. But the second one will be the laptop drive, which is 400 gigabytes. So we're just going to call it 400 GB lap. And hit save on that. Here we go. And the last one is the 5 terabyte, which is the C drive, or the SDC drive 1. So 5 GB, oops, TB, and we'll call it DRV. There we go. Let's go all the way. Drive. There we go. Save and apply. Now, why it's key that you wait until you've rebooted a few times to get this to happen is because if you change or you take one of these drives out, this drive order will change, right? So if I take this drive out, which is the fastest one, it's the first one that was mounted. That's why it's SDA, because it's the SSD drive that's really fast. So it mounts first, this one mounts second, this one mounts third. Now, if you take one of these out, if I take the SSD out, right, watch what happens. I'll do that. There's the SSD taken out. Now, SDC and SDB, right? But when I reboot, this will not be the same, right? This will be SDA. The fastest drive will be the SDA, and this will be SDB. And what happens over here? Well, that messes this up. See that? Not available, right? But when I reboot, and I'll show you the reboot right now after I hit save and apply. I'll show you what happens on the reboot. So I've rebooted the router, and you can see here that all of this has changed. And I'll show you what I mean. I've got a picture of it here. I screenshot. There we go. Minimize that. I screenshotted, or shot, what was there originally. And when I took that SSD drive out, you can see that SDA1 was the SSD. Well, what happened here? Well, SDA1 now is the 250 gig SSD, and SDB1 is a laptop drive, and the 5 terabyte drive, it says not available. But that's not true, because when you go back to USB, you see that the 5 terabyte drive is there, and you see that the 400 gig laptop drive is there. But they've changed letters. They've changed, so that messes all of this up. And so unless you know which one of your drives is going to be seen first by the router, and then you want to map it one by one as you go, great. But if you're going to do multiple drives, put them all in at one time, and I'm going to do that right now. And then I'm going to, because otherwise it's just going to get all messed up. So all 3 at the same time, reboot the router, and then we're going to carry on and basically add a user and map all these 3 drives. Rebooted the router. I've taken a screenshot of this because it's going to change. Let's go back to USB. And hopefully this makes some sense. Again, when you're experimenting with it and notice what goes on, then you understand why I'm saying this. So if you're using 3 drives, plug them in, leave them plugged in, set them up, and then walk away. And if you take them off, any of them offline, make sure you put them back online by rebooting the router, because it will sort the order out correctly. I've rebooted the router about 4 times just to make sure that the drives stay in the same order. So I'm hitting refresh here. And you can see they're still mounting, right? So SDA1 is the 250 gig SSD drive. Perfect. SDB1 is the 400 gig spinning platter laptop drive, and SDC is the 4.7 terabyte PC, or full size hard drive, externally powered hard drive. Now, the way this is determined is how basically who answers the call first. So the router goes looking for drives, and whoever mounts first, that's number one. In this case, though it's not in order, SDA1 is the first one, which is the SSD. Now, I've done this several times, and it always comes up with the same order. Why is this important? Because if you just plug one drive at a time and then map it, drive another drive at a time and map it, and then drive another drive and map it, what will happen is those drives are at different speeds. They'll mount in different maps. So what I mean by that, over here on NAS, I pre-mapped them, and you can see I got it right. SDA1, SSD, right? SDB1, the laptop drive, and SDC, the terabyte drive. But if I'd done this one at a time and put the first drive as, which would have been by itself, the 5 terabyte drive would have been the first one I plugged into the hub, then it would have been SDA1 on this mapping, which would have changed as I put more drives in. I know it doesn't, like I said, but trust me on this. Plug all the drives you're going to use, in my case 3, in at the same time, and then map them out basically like I did here. So I've got 3 drives mapped out correctly, and no matter how many times I reboot the router, they always map out this way. So that's good. You have to get the natural order of these drives to be correct. And they should be when you plug all 3 of them in at the same time and boot it a couple times. And they should always come up the same mapping. So mine do. So that's step 1. Step 2 is just add a user. Let's add Terry. There we go. And give it a password. GreenMax459. That's the password. I'm going to give this user, Terry, access to all the drives. And on SMB, Samba. Save and apply. Now let's see if we get access to those. And they're all read-write. I could spend hours and hours showing you different combinations, but I'll let you experiment with that. So at this point, you can see that these 2 drives are now no longer there. So I'm going to disconnect them. So right-click it, disconnect, right-click, disconnect. Just for the sake of brevity, I'm going to reboot the router one more time. All right, I think the router's rebooted. Let's take a look at the list of drives. And yeah, still the same as it should be. Right? Mapping over here looks cool. Let's get these drives mounted. Let's go. So right-click on this PC, map network drive. Let's just choose one from here. There we go. I think I got 250 gig USB drive. Let's see. Mapping. No, 250 gig SSD. SSD. Finish. All right. More choices. And use a different account. The user we're using, again, just keep myself up, Terry, and GreenMax459. Copy it. Put the password in here, Control V. The weirdest thing it does, watch this, puts it in twice. I only hit the Control V once. 459, name's Terry. Remember my credentials, there we go. And we're in. So there's your first 250 gig. If we take a bucket and just put it, actually, no, that's too many files. Let's just take a couple of, let's take these 2 here. Copy it. Just one, copy. There we go. Drop it in here. And it's the SSD, so it's very fast, as you can see. Let that go. We're going to map another one. So right-click this PC while that's happening. Map a network drive. Okay. Actually, you should be able to browse it. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Nice. That makes it easier. Hit OK. And finish. And because we're already logged in with that user, off we go. let's take a look and see what's going on over here on our 250 gig. There's the Beach Sunset. Let's copy it from there over to the 400 we just installed. A little slower. That's a spinning drive, but still, there you go. Now we'll do the third drive, which is the 5 terabyte. And we don't even have to do that really. We just go over here and just right click this PC and map a network drive. And because we're already, see, doesn't see it there, right? Okay. Interesting how Windows works. I'm going to hit browse, and we're going to hit the 5 terabyte drive there. Okay. And finish. And there it is. 5 terabyte drive. Scroll down here, you can see it. Right click it, choose properties. You can see it's 5 terabytes right there. Perfect. Are we done copying that yet? Let's see what it's doing. Yeah, still not bad. This is a laptop hard drive, and it's a magnetic platter, not solid state drive. So it's going to be a little slower than the SSD. There you go. Beautiful. And then we're going to go back to our super fast drive, this one here, and just put the Beach Sunset from here, copy it onto the 5 terabyte drive. This should be done copying more or less now. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we'll put it on the 5 terabyte drive. Off we go. And it's plenty fast. The 5 terabyte drive is a pretty quick drive. So there we have, all the drives have the same Sunset Beach movie on them. They're all shared to one user on the network. That user now has a total of almost, let's see, 5.65 terabytes of drive space to store stuff on if he wants to. As far as I'm concerned, that's way easier than putting a larger hard drive into your laptop to facilitate that. Of course, you can't carry it with you, so that's another issue. But that's I may work on that on another day, because you could give yourself external access to these files as well. But there are security considerations in doing that. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. Well, this is as simple as I can get. 3 drives shared to a single user through this router, but just, as you can see, it works great. Speeds are awesome. That USB hub has an extra USB port on it, which I can use to put a printer in and have all 3 drives and a printer working. That's on the next video. I'm not doing it here. Hopefully all that made sense, and hopefully you learned something, and now you can put shared drives on your router, whichever router you have, in this case the EA8300. But it's a great little router, as I stated before, once you put DD-WRT in it. All right, that's it for my video. If this video helped you out in some way, do me a huge favor. Give me a thumbs up at the bottom there. Give me a like. That ranks my video higher, which helps other people also get to see this video that wouldn't normally. So give me do me a solid and give me a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. Just click on the like button. Also, if you like this content and helped you out in some way, do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel. Click the bell icon as a part of that process, and then you'll be notified every time I put up a new video, and you can watch it at your own leisure. In the video description below, I'll put links for things like that USB hub and hard drives and so on, and even the router and anything else which may be pertinent to this video, including the USB-C cable and the power adapter, all that, so that you can basically get this done as easily and effortlessly as possible. Those are affiliate links. They help me out, and it doesn't cost you any more than going directly to Amazon. Plus, you get all the same gear that I actually use in the video, which means it will work. Also, in the comments section, give me anything you want to say to me, any suggestions, any constructive criticism. Video suggestions are awesome, and questions, put them in there too. I answer them all the time, and I use them all the time to make more videos. So I appreciate that feedback from you greatly. Once again, and like always, take care of yourself, take care of everybody else, stay happy and healthy, and we'll see you in the next video.